Hi, I'm Kitty and this is how to sew the heron. So firstly, in your kit you'll get a 6-inch embroidery hoop, a needle threader, a sampler, and this sampler will teach you the 6 stitches that you will need for this piece. So here's one that is completed. Looking at them now, they both look quite crumpled. They've been in my bag, but yours will look better. So the 6 stitches are backstitch, whipped backstitch, chain stitch, lazy daisy stitch, satin stitch, and French knots. Actually, for this piece, the heron, you don't need chain stitch. It's one of the pieces that just doesn't have chain stitch. So if you don't want to learn that one, you don't have to. But there is a sampler video, which is linked in the video description of this video, that will teach you how to do all of those stitches, and it also goes through sort of threading your needle, using the needle threader, how to start off your piece, how to finish off, all of that kind of thing, which I will go through in this video as well, but that sort of does it in more detail. So if you haven't watched that, maybe go back and watch it if you want to. You also get 2 needles, one big and one small, a cheat sheet. So this has the drawn pattern here, and it's got descriptions of each segment that you're doing. So it tells you the colour, thread, and the stitch, and it's also got substitutions here. If you don't want to do any of the stitches, you can substitute them for these. And then on the other side, it's got some helpful, or hopefully helpful, tips here. It's got a link to this video, and it's got your key here. So the skeins of thread that you will get match up to this key. It's pretty straightforward. You'll also get one skein of thread that says tester. This is to do your sampler with. Remember not to do your sampler with any of these threads, because otherwise you won't have enough for your piece. And importantly, you also get your design. This is digitally printed on washed Irish linen, so the pattern is super clear. You will also need a pair of scissors. Any scissors will do. And this is totally optional, but for this video I'm using an embroidery stand. You really don't have to get one of these. In fact, when I'm sewing on my own, I don't like to use one because I like to have the hoop in my hand and sort of twist it this way and that. And this is less conducive for sewing and watching TV, which I feel is key. But some people really like them. It means you can just secure your piece here, and then you've got both your hands free to do your stitching. But they're super cheap to get, but you don't need one. Before you start, you are first going to need to secure your fabric in your hoop. Actually, just another quick tip. If you have little bits of threads coming off here, this fabric is linen, so it just will fray at the edges. Just snip them off as you go, because otherwise they might get caught at the back of the fabric and make knots. So anyway, to secure your fabric, you've got your embroidery hoop. I'm using a bigger one for this video because it's just easier to show lots of things at once, but yours is just a small version of this. So you've got 2 parts of the hoop, one with no metal thing, one with metal thing. You put the part with no metal thing behind the fabric, metal thing side on top, like that. Screw, I guess, and then just tighten it like that. You want it to be quite taut. So that's the first step. The second step is separating out your thread. So choose the colour of the bit you want to do and cut off a bit that's maybe 30-40 centimetres long. You don't want to go too long, those you'll get knots. Cut it, and then you want to separate it out. Hopefully you can see here all of your threads come in strands of 6, and you need to separate them out into a strand of 3. So each thread will make 2. So I think there are probably better ways of doing this, but I just tap it down like that until I can see 3 and 3. And then just really gently pull it. The key is to not be aggressive here, otherwise it will knot. Then you want to make a knot at one end. The way I make a knot is just by wrapping it around my finger like that and rolling it down and then pulling. But you can just make a double knot. Then you want to thread your needle. It doesn't matter which needle you use, it's just up to your preference. I always use a small needle, but you know, small needles are better for very delicate things, bigger needles are better for bigger things. And then thread. Again, if you want to use the needle threader that is in the pack, how to use that is in the sampler video. So then you're ready to go. So there are no correct places to start on this. It really doesn't matter the order. I'm going to start from the face and go down the body, but you don't have to. I would always recommend doing the inside animal first and then the border last, because A, some of the animals go on top of the border, like here and here, and B, when you're doing the border, you can count how many things you've got left to go, so you sort of know how long it's going to take you, which is quite satisfying. So I'm going to start by doing the whipped backstitch. So the whipped backstitch is a really easy stitch to do, and it makes sort of these very bold, strong lines. So I usually use it for outlines. So you can see here I've used it for this orange beak, for the white body outline, for the orange leg outline, and I've also used it here for these stripy tail feathers. So with a whip backstitch, it uses 2 threads. You can either do just one colour, which makes these strong lines like this, or you can do it 2 colours, which makes it stripy. And it's also actually used for these blue feathers here, the very outline bit of the blue feathers. So for the whipped backstitch, you want to start off with just a very simple line of backstitch. So you bring your needle up, then maybe about 3 millimeters down. Along the line you make a stitch, and then you just keep going all the way around your line. So there you go, you've got your line of backstitch in the colour you want to do. And then to make this bold line, it's really easy. You just come back up at the beginning of the line again, or the end, doesn't matter, and you twist your needle inside each stitch, sort of wrapping it around like this. And the only thing to remember is that you always need to go from the same side. So I'm going from in to out, like this. If you're doing whip backstitch and you come to a sort of pointy angle, like the end of this beak, it's much better to just get your needle, finish the line you're on, and then come back up through here, as opposed to going all the way around, otherwise you won't get that point. And there you go, that's your whipped backstitch. So you do the same thing in white all the way down for the body outline. In blue, you have to remember here, at this point, the white stops and the blue starts. And very quickly, for the whipped backstitch bits where you use 2 colours, so for example on the tail feathers, you basically just do exactly the same thing. Start with a line of backstitch of one of the colours, it doesn't matter which one. Then get your second colour, come up at the start of the line, And I will just quickly show you how to finish off as well. So once you've finished your thread, or once you've finished the bit that you're doing, just turn the fabric over and make just 1 or 2 small stitches, being careful not to go through the fabric. Just stay at the back to make a knot, and then cut. Cut, if you can, as close to the fabric as possible, because if you get big long threads dangling down, you'll get knots. So the next thing I'll show you is the backstitch. I probably definitely should have shown you that before the whipped backstitch, because it's just the first half of the whipped backstitch. So you use it for this blue inside of the beak here and the outline of the eye, and these orange leg stripes, the inner stripes. And you use single back stitches for this, for its tummy. And I also use backstitch for the border and for the lettering. So for the single stitches you use here, as you can see, I haven't given you any markings to follow. You're going to have to freehand it a bit. And you can see they start off quite dense and they go up and up and up, getting sparser, I suppose. So it's pretty self-explanatory. You just want to start anywhere near the bottom and make these small single stitches like this, just going anywhere you want. If you've got a gap that you can see, just fill it in. They don't have to be regular or that neat. It's probably good if they're all roughly the same size. So you just want to keep going like that, with lots and lots and lots at the bottom, and then as you go up, just getting less, basically. So that's how you do that. Just, if you think it doesn't look right, just keep going back and looking at the picture, and you can always fill more in. So for the lettering, people feel worried about doing the lettering, but it's actually some of the easiest bits. It's just basically every straight line is 1 stitch. So just go over it like this. So letters like H and E are super easy. And any letters with a curve like R or O, just use small stitches to basically go around the line. Doesn't matter if they're a bit wonky, people will still be able to read it, and I think it adds character. So the next stitch I will show you is satin stitch. Just one of the easiest stitches is basically colouring in. So use it for these dots on its crest, maybe. These green points here down the neck, the inside of these feathers, so these sort of red droplets. And also I have used satin stitch for these wing feathers here. I thought it would be quite a good idea at the time to do it in satin stitch, but I ended up feeling quite frustrated as I did it because the lines are so tiny. So you can do satin stitch if you feel confident doing it like that. If you do it, just use the lines that I've given you here more as a guide and sort of do your own thing, basically, because some of them are very small. But I think these would look just as effective in whipped backstitch or backstitch. So just sewing over these lines in sort of alternating red and orange in backstitch or whipped backstitch. But if you want to do satin stitch, then definitely give it a go. I think it looks really good, but I also think the other 2 stitches would look equally as good. So up to you. So satin stitch is used to fill in shapes. So I will just show you one of these circles here. Come up through the edge of the circle and down to the other edge like that. And then you just go round and round until it's filled in. A tip with satin stitch is if you're doing a shape that has got sort of points or curves like a circle or a triangle, don't start right at the edge here because you have to start with a very small stitch. Start sort of in the middle and then just work your way out. And the other thing to remember for satin stitch is that these black lines that the pattern is printed on don't wash out like they do in some embroidery kits. So always remember to sew outside the line instead of inside the line, otherwise you'll be able to see the black marks. And if you make a mistake, no one will notice. So there's one red dot, keep going up. The green, you just fill in these points, and it's the same with these. And this is up to you. So the next stitch I'll show you is the lazy daisy stitch. The lazy daisy stitch is basically just little loops. In this piece, it's just used for these neck patterns here, but it's a super easy stitch to do. So you can see I've given you these guidelines here coming off what will be these sort of green satin stitch points. So they will tell you where to make your loops. So what you do is you just start at the bottom of the line, bring your thread all the way through. Make sure to keep the end of this thread sort of in sight. Put your needle down through the hole you came up in, like this. And then bring your needle up. Like that, and don't pull it too hard, otherwise it will just look like a straight line instead of a loop. And fasten your stitch with a little line like that. These guidelines are quite short. They really tell you more where to start your line as opposed to finishing it. So you can definitely, if there's space, go beyond the end of the guideline just to make a bigger loop. So down like that, up. I didn't want them to be too big, otherwise the black would sort of show through. The last stitch I'll show you is the French knot. It's definitely the hardest stitch, the one that takes the longest time to get your head around. For here, it's really not used very much. It's just used for the middle of the eye and these toe dots here, all in dark blue. If you don't want to do the French knots, you're not confident with them, just do a very small single backstitch, similar to the breast pattern here. But if you do want to do them, this is how you do them. So very quickly, if you don't want to do a French knot and you're doing, say, the center of the eye, literally just do a very small stitch like that. And it basically looks the same. And you can do it for the feet as well. If you're going to go for the French knots, you can see I haven't given you any dots here. They just go at the end of the toes. So you just bring your needle up where it would go, pull it all the way through and hold this. This is the only stitch where an embroidery stand actually is handy because it's quite good to have two hands. You can do it without, but if you're a beginner, maybe an embroidery stand would be good for this. So you bring it up like this, you twist the thread around your needle once, and then the key to doing a successful French knot is that you go down not through the exact hole that you came in, but just a little bit to the side, leaving a little bit of fabric in the middle. So down like that, pull it tight, and pull. Don't pull too hard, otherwise the knot will come through. Up, spin around once, a little bit to the side, hold, and you want to make sure the knot is really sort of flush against the fabric, otherwise it will come unraveled. So just hold it tight basically. Up, round once, down, and pull through. Up, round, down, and pull through. So that's how you do your French knots. I realised when I was talking about whip backstitch that I didn't talk about the border at all, which was a mistake on my part. So the border is on this piece definitely the most time-consuming bit of it. It does take quite a long time, but you can really zone out. It's literally just one thing again and again and again, so it's quite mindless, or mindful perhaps. I have done this in whipped backstitch. If you are getting sick of it and you just want it to be over, hopefully not, you can just not whip it, just do a backstitch. It will look just as effective. You will just be able to see the stitches. So that's up to you really. You'll get enough thread to be able to do the whip backstitch as well. Yeah, you can choose. The thing to remember about the border, the important thing, is that because there's no middle bit, you don't sew anything in the middle, it's just a sort of continuation of these lines. Make sure when you're sewing, if you're going around to here, to go all the way to the next petal. So you keep going all around, and in the end it forms this circle. Don't get to sort of here and then stop. Make sure you go all the way around like that, otherwise there's going to be gaps. Hopefully I've explained well enough all the different bits. If I haven't, then please just send an email and we can help. When you've finished with it, you can buy a frame and a framing kit from us so that you can put it on the wall, or I mean, you can just do whatever you want with it really. And I hope you enjoy.